think from learning from the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York, gave me a brain. And I've used my brain intelligently to acquire information that's very important for us all, not just important for me. It's important to the us, the we, the our, right? The our as in H-O-U-R, our, and our as in H-O or O-U-R, our, is still ours. Either way, you want to know who the man of the second half of the hour is? It's all you Harus, all you messiahs out there that Baba done taught. He taught you. Now it's your half of the hour to do what he taught and be what he taught. That's what half of the hour it is. I'm not the only Nuwapian brother that says that. Paul Musbatu's channel, they said, the brother said it on there too earlier this last week. So they're aware of it. We all got to be aware of it too. Me, young elder, 12th elder, the 11th elder, any ancestor we have with us, Brother Hightower, all of us are here, and we are breathing the very air that our ancestors breathed out into when they passed in the past. So when we tell people, hey, I'm Kabesanufa, I'm Haru, I'm this, I'm that, this is the essence. We belong to the bloodline of those beings is what we're saying. And when y'all go, who told y'all that? It came to us spiritually, mentally. And I don't want to be spooky, which is why I explained we're particles. I explained that so you can take the spookism out of praying. When you pray, you send a positive vibrational note into the particles, and those particles accumulate in cares. They get delivered. They get delivered to another brain that can help you. So a person will normally show up to help you after you've prayed for help. It'll come in the form of another person because they know you need help in the physical third dimension. So they have to send a third dimensional angel your way, which is somebody that chooses to respond to the positive thoughts that come from the air. Am I sounding too spooky? This is how the angelic beings move for us.
Correct. Ilamuta Jasid.
Thank you. They'll find one, and that one will come in and make it all clear. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, Q. Says because if you move on your spirit would pick it up. Like you could be driving, and all of a sudden you have come in your head, go help that brother. Stop. You know what I'm saying? And you'll feel guilty sometimes if you don't respond when it comes. It happens. It happened to me. You start feeling guilty. I should have turned around. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay, this is gonna take less than maybe 20 minutes tops because it's short. It is very short. And usually when we read this book, it be so long. So we're gonna be done at least by 7:20, 7:30, somewhere in there. Let's just dive on in this thing. Been working on some stuff, so that's why I haven't been going live. And we got 2 more lives to do, and I'm gonna do that. And I think after that, it's gonna be the end of my lives. So just putting there in the air. All right, chapter 4, overcoming time. So much has been written about the importance of staying present. I could cite statistics on everything from distracted driving to divorce support. Hold on. To distracted driving to divorce to support the notion that people have a really hard time staying in the present moment. Let me add to that body of knowledge by expressing this concept in quantum terms. In the present, all potentials exist simultaneously, y'all. Sorry, started in the field. When we stay present, when we are in the moment, we can move beyond space and time, and we can make any one of those potentials a reality. hmm Any one of those potentials a reality. When we are mired in the past, however, none of those new potentials exist. You've learned that when human beings try to change, we react much like addicts because we become addicted to our familiar chemical state of being. You know that when you have a addiction, it is almost as if your body has a mind of its own. As past events trigger the same chemical response as the original incident, your body thinks it is re experiencing the same event. Once, once conditioned to be the subconscious mind through this process, the body has taken over for the mind. It has become the mind and therefore can, in a sense, think. We talking about the body, y'all. I just touched upon how the body becomes the mind by the cycle of thinking and feeling and thinking. But there is another way in which this occurs based on past memory. Here's Here is how it works. You have an experience which has an emotional charge. Then you have a thought about that particular past event. Excuse me. The thought becomes a memory, which then reflect love. I can't say this word. We're gonna move along. Reflect. I can't say it. Reproduces the emotions of the experience. If you keep thinking about the memory repeatedly, the thought, the memory, and the emotion merges as one, and you memorize the emotion. Now, living in the past becomes less of a conscious process and more of a subconscious one. Memorizing emotions. The subconscious comprises most physical and mental processes that take place below our conscious awareness. Much of its activity is involved in keeping the body functioning. Scientists refer to this regulatory system as the automatic nervous system. We don't have to consciously think about breathing, keeping our hearts beating, raising and lowering our body temperature, or any of the other millions of processes that helps the body maintain that helps the body maintain order and heal itself. I think that you can see how potentially dangerous it is for us to seek control over our daily emotional response to our memories and environment. To this automatic system, the subconscious set of routines responses has been variously compared to a autopilot system and to programs running in the background of a computer. With those analogies, or what those analogies are trying to convey is the sense that there is something below the surface of our awareness that is in control of how we behave. Here's an example to reinforce these points. Imagine that in your youth, you came home one day and discovered your favorite pet lying dead on the floor. Every sensation, impression of that experience would be, as the expression goes, burned into your brain. That experience would scar you. With traumatic experiences like that, it is easy to understand how those emotions can become unconscious, memorized responses to reminders from your environment that you've lost a loved one. You know by now that when you think about that experience, you create the same emotion in your brain and body as if the event was occurring all over again. All it takes is one stray thought or one reaction to some event in the external world to activate that program and you start feeling that emotion of your past grief. The trigger can be seeing a dog that looks like yours or visiting a place you once took him as a puppy. Regardless of the sensory input, it activates an emotion. Those emotional triggers can be obvious or subtle, but they all affect you at a subconscious level, and before you can process what has happened, you're back in that emotional chemical state of grief, anger, and sadness. Once that happens, the body runs the mind. You can use your conscious mind to try to get out of that emotional state, but invariably, you'll feel like you're out of control. Think of Pavlov and his dog. In the 1980s, the young Russian scientist strapped a few dogs to a table, rang a bell, and then fed the cannons a hearty meal. Over time, and after repeatedly exposing the dog to the same stimulus, he simply rang the bell, and the dog automatically salivated in anticipation. Wow. This is called a conditioned response. And the process occurs automatically. Why? Because the body begins to respond automatically. Think of an automatic nervous system. The cascade of chemical responses that is triggered within moments changes the body physiology, and it happens quite subconsciously with little or no conscious effort. This is one of the reasons why it is so hard to change. The conscious mind may be in the present, but the subconscious body mind is living in the past. If we begin to expect a predictable future event to occur in reference to a memory of the past, we are just like those cannons. One experience of a particular person or thing at a specific time and place from the past automatically or auto automatically or autonomically causes us to respond psychologically. Once we break the emotional addiction rooted in our past, there would no longer be any pull to cause us to return to the same automatic programs of the old self. It begins to make sense that although we think or believe we are living in the present, there is a good possibility that our bodies are in the past. Emotions to moods to temperament to personality traits, conditioning the body to live in the past. That's the subtitle within the chapter. Not subtitle, but the title that we're going to read about. Okay, unfortunately for most of us, because the brain always works by repetition and association, it doesn't take a major trauma to produce the effect of the body becoming the mind. The most minor triggers can produce emotional responses that feel as though they are beyond our control. For instance, you're driving to work and you stop at your usual coffee shop, which is all out of your favorite, hold up, which is all out of your favorite hazelnut coffee. Disappointed, you, hold up, which is all out of your, oh, they all out of the favorite hazelnut coffee. I love hazelnut. Disappointed, you grumble to yourself why a major enterprise like this one can't keep in stock such a very popular flavor. At work, you're irritated to see another car in your preferred parking spot. Stepping into an empty elevator, you are exsperiated to discover that someone ahead of you pushed all the buttons. When you finally walk into the office, excuse me, someone commits, someone comments, "What's up?" You seem kind of down. You tell your story and the person sympathizes. You sum it up, "I'm in a bad mood. I'll get over it." Thing is, you don't. A mood is a chemical state of being, generally short term, that is an expression of a prolonged emotional reaction. Something in your environment, in this case, the failure of your baristas to meet your needs, followed by a few other minor annoyances set off an emotional response. The chemical of that emotion don't get used up instantly, so the effect lingers for a while. I call that the refractory period, the time after the initial release and until the effect diminishes. The longer the refractory period, obviously, the longer you experience those feelings. When the chemical refractory period of an emotional response lasts for hours to days, that's a mood. What happens when that recently triggered mood lingers? You've been in a bit of a funk since that day, and now you look around the room during a staff meeting, and all you think of is that this person's tie is hideous, and the nasally tone of your boss is worse than nails on a chalkboard. At this point, you're not just in a mood, you're reflecting a temperament, a tendency towards the habitual expression of emotions through certain behaviors. A temperament is an emotional reaction with a refractory period that lasts from weeks to months. Eventually, if you keep the refractory period of an emotion going for months and years, the tendency turns into a personality trait. At that point, others will describe you as bitter or resentful or angry or judgmental. Our personal traits then are frequently based in our past emotions. Most of the time, there's nothing like being yourself. And you know what to know. It ain't no shame in my game. No. Okay, our personality traits then are frequently based in our past emotions. Most of the time, personality, how we think, act, and feel, is anchored in the past. So to change our personalities, we have to change the emotions that we memorize. We have to move out of the past. The past is the thing that gets us in trouble, trouble, trouble. Create different states of being. We can't change when living in the predictable future. There is yet another way that we get stuck and keep ourselves from changing. We may also train the body to be the mind in order to live in the predictable future. Based on the memory of the known past, thus we miss the precious now moment again. As you know, we can condition the body to live in the future. Of course, that can be a means to change our lives for the better. When we make a conscious choice to focus on a desired new experience, as my daughter did when she created her summer job in Italy, as her story demonstrates, if we focus on an intended future event and then plan how we will prepare or behave, there will be a moment when we are so clear and focused on the possible future that the thoughts we are thinking will begin to become the experience itself. Once the thought becomes the experience, its end product is an emotion. When we begin to experience the emotion of that event ahead of its possible occurrence, the body, as the unconscious mind, begins to respond as though the event is actually unfolding. On the other hand, what happens if we begin to anticipate some unwanted future experience or even obsess about a worst case scenario based on a memory from our past? We are still programming the body to experience a future event before it occurs. Now the body is no longer in the moment or in the in the past. It is living in the future, but a future based on some construct of the past. When this occurs, the body does not know the difference between the actual event transpiring in reality and what we are entertaining mentally. Wow, that's what they say. You don't know the difference between reality and imagination. That's what they're talking about. Because we are priming it to be juiced up for whatever we think might be coming. The body begins to get ready. And in a very real way, the body is in the event. Here's an example of living in the future based on the past. Imagine that you've been asked to give a lecture in front of 350 people, but you fear being on stage based on memories of previous public speaking disasters. Oh God, it sounds like something that I would put to my public speaking from your distant past, but I'm probably getting the hang of it a little bit. Yeah. Whenever you think about the coming talk, you envision yourself standing there stammering and losing your train of thought. Your body begins to respond as if the future event is unfolding now. Your shoulder tense, your head races, and you perspire heavily as you anticipate that dreaded day. You causes your body to already to be living in that stressful reality. Caught up in and obsessed with the possibility of feeling again, you are so intent on that expected reality that you can't concentrate on anything else. Your mind and body are polarized, moving from the past to the future and back again. As a result, you deny yourself the novelty of a wonderful future outcome. As a more universal example of living in a predictable future, let's say that for many years you wake up to each new day only to slide automatically into the same old set of unconscious actions. The body is so used to anticipating performing your daily behaviors that it goes almost mechanically from one task to the next. There's feeding the dog, brushing your teeth, putting on your clothes, making tea, taking the garbage out, getting the mail. You get the idea. Although you may wake up with a thought to do something different, somehow you find yourself doing those same old things as if you are just along for the ride. Right, like somebody just, I call that being hijacked. But it's your own subconscious mind because you program. It's like your mind can consider it like your pet or whatever you feel like. Or you can look at your subconscious mind as a robot or something that you can program and control. But you're the controller and it's gonna do things based upon what you control, I mean, what you program it to do. That's the automatic functioning within your day to day. You just getting stuff done real fast because you didn't train your mind and your body to do things, you know, to help you prioritize your days better. And after you have memorized these types of actions for a decade or two, your body has been trying to continuously look forward to doing those things. In fact, it has been subconsciously programmed to live in the future and thus allow you to go to sleep behind the wheel. We could even say that you are no longer even driving the car. Now your body cannot exist in the present moment. It is primed to control you by running a host of unconscious programs while you sit back and allow it to head towards some humdrum known destiny. Overcoming your nearly automatic habits and no longer anticipating the future requires the ability to live greater than time. More on that to come. Living in the past, which is your future. Here's another example that demonstrates how familiar emotions create corresponding future. You are invited to a coworker's 4th of July barbecue. It's gonna be interesting. Everyone from your department is expected to attend. You don't like the host. He's always number one and he doesn't mind letting anyone know it. Every time he hosted an event before, you've wound up having a miserable time with this guy pushing every single one of your buttons. As you are driving to his place now, all you can think about is how at the last party he interrupted everyone's meal so he could present his wife with a new BMW. You're certain as you've told your partner the whole week leading up to the cookout that this is going to be one miserable day. And it becomes exactly that. You run a stop sign and get a ticket. One of your coworkers spills a beer on your pants and shirt. The hamburger that you requested be done medium well comes to you barely beyond raw. Given your attitude, your state of being going in, how could you have expected things to turn out any other way? You woke up anticipating that this day was slated to be a horror show, and it turned out that way. You alternated between obsessing about an unwanted future, anticipating what will come next, and living in the past, comparing stimuli you were receiving to what you received previously. You were receiving to what you received previously. So you created more of the same. If you start keeping track of your thoughts and write them down, you'll find that most of the time you are either thinking ahead or looking back. Live your desired new future in the precious present. Precious present. So here's another of those big questions. If you knew that by staying present and severing or pruning your connections with the past, you can have access to all the possible outcomes in the quantum field. Why would you choose to live in the past and keep creating the same future for yourself? Why wouldn't you do what is already in your power to do? To mentally alter the physical makeup of your brain and body so that you can be changed ahead of any actual desired experience. Why wouldn't you opt for living in the future of your choice now ahead of time? Instead of obsessing about some traumatic or stressful event that you fear is in your future, based on your experience of the past, obsess about a new, desired experience that you haven't yet embraced emotionally. Allow yourself to live in the potential now, live in the potential new future now, to the extent that your body begins to accept or believe that you're experiencing the elevated emotion of that new future outcome in the present moment. You're going to learn how to do this. Remember, when I said that my daughter needed to live her present life like she already had the experiences of the great summer in Italy. By doing that, she was broadcasting into the quantum field that the event had already physically occurred. The greatest people in the world have demonstrated this. Thousands of so-called ordinary people have done it, and you can as well. You have all the neurological machinery to transcend time to make this a skill. What some might call miracles, I describe as cases of individuals working towards changing their state of being so that their bodies and minds are no longer merely a record of their past, but becomes active partners taking steps to a new and better future. Transcending the big three, peak experiences and ordinary altered states of consciousness. At this point, you understand that the main obstacle to breaking the habit of being yourself is thinking and feeling equal to your environment, your body, and time. Obviously, then learning to think and feel, be greater than the big three is your first goal as you prepare for the meditation process you will learn in this book. I bet that at some point in your life, perhaps even frequently, you've already been able to think greater than your environment, your body, and time. These moments when you transcended to the big three, or what some people call being in the flow, there are a number of ways to describe what happens when our surroundings, our bodies, our senses, our sense of time's passage disappears and we are lost to the world. And speaking to groups across the globe, I've asked audience members to describe creative moments when they were so consumed by what they were doing or were so relaxed and at ease that they seemed to enter an altered state of consciousness. I get myself in that state all the time because, like I said, beautiful days, everyone, beautiful days. You're hypnotizing yourself every moment of the day. So you better make damn well that you're doing it in a way that you're going to be reaping things that you want to enjoy and experience. These experiences generally fall in two categories. The first of these are the so-called peak experience, what we think of as transcendent moments. Excuse me. When we attain a state of being that we associate with monks and mystics. Compared to those highly spiritual events, the others may be more mundane, ordinary, and prosaic, but that doesn't mean that they are any less important. These ordinary moments happen to me many a times, although not as often as I would like. While in the process of writing this book, when I first sat down to write, I often have many other things on my mind. my busy travel schedule, my patients, my kids, myself, how hungry, sleepy, happy I am. On good days, when the word seems to flow out of me, it is as though my hands and my keyboards are in an extensive of my mind. I'm not consciously aware of my fingers moving on my back, resting against the chair. The trees swaying in the breeze outside of my office disappears. That by bit of stiffness in my neck no longer nudges for my attention. And I'm completely focused on and absorbed by the words on my computer screen. At some point, I realized that an hour or more has gone by in what seemed an instant. The kind of thing has likely happened to you, perhaps while you were driving, watching a movie, enjoying a dinner with good company, reading, knitting, practicing piano, or simply sitting in a quiet spot in nature. I don't know about you, but I often feel amazingly refreshed, after experiencing one of those moments when my environment, my body, and time seems to disappear. Of course, beautiful days. They don't always happen when I'm writing, but after completing my second book, I found that they occur with greater frequency. With practice, I've been able to take control so that these experiences of being in the flow are not an accidental or serendipitous as they were at first. Overcoming the big three to facilitate the occurrence of such moments is essential for losing your mind and creating a new one. And we're done. So, don't know. Well, I said it was going to be the last one, and I'm going to let it be the last one. Why I did get my paper. So, on that note, we are finished with our live. And I guess I'll see y'all next time. I just wanted to finish this up because I'm like, I could have did this today, but I would have been did it if I knew it was this short. But see y'all next time. I hope y'all had a beautiful, beautiful days and y'all enjoyed the rest of y'all evening. Until then, Mr. Lady D is signing off.